To another episode of Common Ground, the Policy Roundtable, where we bring together a panel with diverse views on issues of concern to Newton residents and try to hammer out some of our differences. For those of you who are new to our show, let's review the rules. First, I introduce a topic. Then we go around the table once with each panelist expressing a viewpoint. I then select the two panelists who disagree the most strongly and ask them to speak directly to one another in hopes of finding some area of agreement. At the end of the segment, I put in my 2 cents on the topic and give an assessment of how we did at finding common ground. Well, that's the way the show usually works. Tonight's a little different because, as we've done a couple times earlier this year, we're having a special where we're going to do a one-on-one. Last episode we had Greer Swiston on, and that went well. So we're going to have my co-host from Legal Angle, because we know we don't have enough time to talk on Legal Angle. It's only a half hour, so we could consider this Legal Angle overtime, but it's an hour of overtime dealing with Newton issues. And the other thing is, people say, well, you and Matt agree so darn much on Legal Angle. You're both big fans of the Trump administration. Right?
I get that a lot.
Yeah, and wacky liberal on everything else, right? No. On these legal issues, concerned about corporate control of things. And basically, I've gotten a little feedback that Matt, we don't agree enough. We don't disagree enough, that is.
It's a terrible thing. I mean,
so we're going to come onto common ground and pick the topics. The theme tonight is topics that Matt and Ken disagree on.
We're going to try hard. We're going to do our best. We're going to
start with things we disagree on, and then we're going to try to find some area of agreement, because that's the common ground theme, right?
Yes. That's my understanding of the show.
That's the point. So rather than me just being moderator, though, I'm going to put my views out. I'll introduce a topic, and
then I understand you'll go around the table, find panelists who disagree with each other.
I'm pretty sure who I'm going to find. Well, Emily, no.
Exactly.
You disagree with us. Matt and I agree. No.
Exactly. Let me know.
Yeah, and so I think, as is always the case when you and I are on common ground together, Matt, we'll have to probably talk a little zoning and development related stuff.
I think we will. It seems like a tradition at this point.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's more of that going on. Maybe a little environmental related issue.
Yeah.
And so we might not disagree necessarily on everything.
Right.
But I think but the first two topics are going to be recreational marijuana, and there's a few subtopics of that, and Newton being a demonstration site or an experimental site for self-driving cars. Those are two that Greer and I both agreed on last show, and I think that there was too much agreement around the table. No, I don't know.
I'll do my best.
Thanks, Matt, for coming on.
Thanks for having me on again. It's a real pleasure.
And of course, Matt Yospin has many claims to fame. A Newtonville activist, I believe, is one title that we can give you. And of course, patent attorney with your practice at yospinlaw.com, I believe.
That's right.
And with offices in Newton and Boston.
Yeah, I only advertise the one in Boston, but you can often find me at local coffee shops or lunch spots around Newton.
Okay.
And wherever I am, I consider to be my temporary office.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. Many locations.
Yes.
Right now, Yospin Law is right here.
Happening here at the New TV studios.
Yes. And a little
Although
disclaimer.
I should say this is not legal advice.
Yeah, nothing I was going to say. Disclaimer, nothing we say constitutes legal advice or an actionable opinion.
Correct. And this does not form any attorney-client relationships.
Yes, right. Just attorney-attorney relationships. No.
Yes.
Anyway, so there's a lot to get to. I think we've got about 4 subtopics on the marijuana issue alone.
Let's dive on in.
Let's go to the first one. And frankly, before we get into the meat of it, I want to say the same complaint that Greer and I talked about last show is we don't really have a local newspaper in Newton now. There's no reporter covering local meetings. There is nothing, we have Newton Patch the Patch website gets a little bit in there. Occasionally you'll see something in the tab, but the tab doesn't. We used to have the tab and the graphic, and they'd both have reporters at meetings, and they'd be calling up aldermen and finding out what's going on. We have a total lack of journalism in Newton now, or the citizens of Newton would know about this ballot initiative. So there is a group of Newton citizens going around right now attempting to collect 6,000 signatures. Why do they want signatures? Because they want a question to appear on the ballot regarding whether there'll be recreational marijuana shops in Newton.
Now let's back up and explain for folks
well,
why this is an option, because my understanding was that the state already had a ballot referendum.
Yes, as did Colorado and as did Washington State. But unlike Colorado and Washington, where they decriminalized marijuana, when they decriminalized it, they gave an opt-in to their cities and towns saying, you can have marijuana shops in your community if your local citizens vote affirmatively to do it. The Massachusetts law was written the opposite way. They're automatically here unless you opt out. And so there has to be, so the reason for the signature gathering is the folks that are supporting this effort, and it's their website has lots of information on their website. It's optoutnewton.org. That's OPTOUT Newton, NEWTON.org, and they have a Q&A and why we're doing this and who we are. And when I found out about this, Matt, frankly, I was shocked that, there was I thought I was kind of hooked into what's going on in town. I knew nothing about it. Did you know about this?
No.
It's like this is the kind of thing you would think would be like front page news in the Newton Town.
Well, in the tab it might be, but the tab is really just a shell of a newspaper at this point. A sad, hollowed out shell.
Yeah, no, they run like regional things, and the front page might be boys track team runs around in ovals.
Right. But if you read the articles, a lot of the stories say we spoke with so-and-so by email, which first, I don't think really is speaking. And second, that's because they don't have reporters on the ground here. And I think the editorial decisions and the ownership is in Texas, I believe.
Yeah, it's
far from here, which no knock against Texas, but it should be here.
Yeah, and there should be an editor. We had a local editor, and whether you agreed with every one of his editorials or not, Andy did a great job, and we had him at this table
I spoke with him. I spoke with him many times. He was a dedicated journalist. He knew the city well.
Andy Levin, I'm talking about.
Yes, that's right, Andy Levin, and he did a good job. Agree, disagree.
And we've had a series of terrific editors and terrific reporters in Newton. So anyway, with that having been said, I wish I didn't have to report the news. I could just say, let's talk about this front page story in the tab. But just to go through the numbers a little bit, the way the law works is if you don't opt out, there is.
Hey, can I interrupt you for 1 second? I just want to put in a plug for New TV, because New TV has a news show. I should watch it more. And I think I will start now that I can't read actual news in the tab.
Yeah, and Jen Adams has been doing that show, I think, for 15 years, maybe more. Does a terrific job. It's a great show.
So I think she deserves a plug here.
Absolutely. Everyone should watch Jen Adams' show.
Yeah,
and you can go on newtv.org and find out when it's going to be on. Yeah. And I think you might be able to watch it online as well.
I believe you can, too, if you don't have cable, which is the case for a lot of folks. So you can watch it online.
You should support public access television by getting cable.
Absolutely. I love public access TV. Okay, I interrupted you. Let's
so
jump into the marijuana issue.
Just to go over what the law is. Right now, if the way Newton stands, there will be 8 or more marijuana stores in Newton. And so the question is...
I'm sorry, I think the number is 7 or more, because I think it's written as 20% of the number of liquor licenses, but whatever the exact number is.
Yeah, but okay.
I think it could be as few as 7 are required.
The question is whether you're rounding up or rounding down, I believe. But
that's true. I assumed it would round down. But
okay, I believe that. So
that's
why there's a dispute as to whether it's 7 or 8.
Yeah. Look, this is great. We're already disagreeing.
We're already doing math too. As I said before the show to Matt, there'll be math on this show. With us on, guaranteed. There will be math.
So 7 or 8 stores or more.
Minimum. And so basically, we would be saying there would be a lack of local control. The proponents of this question are arguing, and they say, wouldn't it be better not to have to put these in to our community? And so they have a number of arguments as to why this, and I will be weighing in substantively in a minute. But first, I'm going to let Matt go first on why he thinks. I guess the two questions, Matt, are: do you think that this should go on the ballot? And if so, how would you vote on it?
Sure. My feeling is that we don't need this on the ballot. And that's my opinion because I don't have a problem with having marijuana dispensaries in Newton. So I don't think we need to have a ballot question to decide whether or not we're going to. I don't have the vote totals handy. I didn't look them up in advance of tonight's show, but I believe Newton voted as a whole for in favor of the ballot question.
The statewide ballot question
statewide ballot
to
question.
decriminalize marijuana in Massachusetts.
Right. Now I understand that that's not a ballot question on the specific topic of whether there should be marijuana dispensaries in Newton. But with a majority of Newton voters voting in favor of having marijuana dispensaries in the state, the Commonwealth, in general, it feels to me like a pretty rotten sort of hypocrisy to say, well, as a city, we voted to have this type of business open here in the Commonwealth, but we don't want it here in Newton.
I'll tell you, I will expound upon my hypocrisy momentarily.
Lovely. So that's my answer to the first question.
Okay.
And if it were on the ballot, yeah, I would vote against it. Absolutely.
You would vote against not having recreational marijuana dispensaries. And
Correct.
to be clear, we're not talking about medical marijuana dispensaries. They would be allowed anyway.
Right. And
They're not, no one is
no, this
arguing.
is recreational dispensaries where you can go to buy either raw marijuana or perhaps processed marijuana products, foods, drinks, patches, oils, medicated rubs, which are great for athletes who are suffering from sore muscles.
Okay,
told.
you don't need to do an advertisement for it.
I'm not advertising. I'm trying to describe the types of products that
great
would be
now,
sold there. It's
which
not,
are great for.
It's not just
All right.
cannabis to be smoked.
Okay.
It's also processed
Okay,
cannabis
well,
products.
and we'll
food
get
and drink.
we'll get into later whether Newton could regulate and limit the range of products that are open,
Sure.
that are sold in Newton. That's actually available under the state law, some local regulation, and whether that's a good idea or not, people could have supported the law and still support local regulation, just as people say tobacco is legal and alcohol is legal, but they're regulated products, right? So that there is some possibility of
right. Although this is not, say, my area of legal practice, but I don't think that towns have particular local control over which types of alcohol products and which types of tobacco products.
You can have a dry town, though.
Well, yes, but that's an all or nothing, right?
The law is different here, though, than it is for alcohol as well.
Sure, but I'm saying they're not exactly analogous.
No, that is true. They're not exactly analogous.
Okay, so you.
I will grant you that. In fact, as I said to Greer Swiston on the last show, probably the dumbest argument I've heard on the part of marijuana advocates is comparing it to alcohol. I think it's not comparable. As I said to Greer, I don't think it's comparable to alcohol at all, and I'd be happy to talk about why I think it's incredibly deceptive to compare marijuana to alcohol. Don't think they're analogous.
I agree that it is deceptive to compare them, but I think I disagree about in which direction I think it's deceptive. and I'm glad that you've brought it up as one of the dumbest arguments that you think people can make, because I intend to make exactly an argument along those lines.
Okay, but and I know that, Matt, and that's why I'm just teasing you. But I did say that on the last show.
I believe you. So the short answers: no, I don't think we should have this on the ballot. Not the way this is
But you
phrased.
called me a hypocrite first, so I thought that was fair.
Fair is fair. And how would I vote? I would vote against a ballot question that proposed having no, opting Newton out.
Your position is clear.
How would you vote? Is there any disagreement between us?
Oh my God, Matt, I think there might be a little. So we're going to get some, finally, Matt, we found a topic.
Excellent.
All right, let me first of all say where I'm coming from on this. I totally supported the statewide ballot question. I'm among the 50-some-odd% of Newton residents who voted yes to decriminalize marijuana. I do not think anyone should go to jail for possessing or smoking or chewing or doing anything else with marijuana. I don't want to have people's lives ruined by it. I don't want people to be in the criminal justice system for it. And I think it is the idea that our prisons are filled up and young people's lives, that anyone is going to jail for doing this, I find offensive and a waste of resources. And I 100% supported the ballot question, was pleased it passed, talked about it on election night. In fact, I think my position prevailed on all 4 of the ballot questions, the yeses and nos. I was happy with all of them. And to be clear also, I think that having medical marijuana readily available, there are people who have cancer and other conditions where it serves a positive purpose, and I have no problem with that either. But I do believe in zoning, and I think there's an appropriate location for everything. To me, the best analogy to marijuana, it's adult entertainment. Just as I think it should be legal.
Adult entertainment, like a strip club?
Yes, or like adult toys.
You think marijuana is like a strip
If
club?
I can finish, Matt.
No, I'm going to interrupt you. You think marijuana is like a strip club or a vibrator? Do I have this right? Adult entertainment meaning naked people dancing or sex toys?
I think that if you look at where...
I just want to make sure I understand you.
I will...
before I make fun of your position.
Okay, well, you'll get a chance to make fun of my position in a minute.
Excellent.
I think that marijuana is adult entertainment, and I think that if you look at where it is located in other communities, and I've seen it in Colorado, for example, where my grandmother lives and I go frequently. If you look at where the marijuana dispensaries are, they're next to the adult bookstore, they're next to the used car lots, they're next to the industrial sites, they're not in the nice neighborhoods. And call me a NIMBY, but I think certain uses shouldn't be in the nice neighborhoods, and I don't think they should be near schools. And if you look at the geographic distribution of Newton, there's no way to put them in Newton and not have them near schools, because we have schools distributed throughout the city.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think Newton is a good place for them. If you are going to have them in Newton, I think you'd want to put them in the industrially zoned areas, not in the business districts. Now, in terms of this argument, well, we've got liquor stores everywhere. We've got bars. We serve alcohol. Here's why I think it's a dumb analogy. Alcohol has been part of our society, for better or worse, for millennium. There is no going back. There's no, whether we'd be better off without alcohol, there's a good argument we'd be much better off if alcohol was not part of our society. But we're at ground zero now. We have a decision to make how much we want to integrate marijuana into our society and how much we want to make it like alcohol. Do we want to make it like alcohol? And I would say this, if someone said to me, do we want to have tobacco stores in Newton? I would say no, let's make a choice. Can we make that choice legally? I don't know. There used to be a tobacco store in Center Street in Newton Center. It's not there anymore. If someone wanted to bring a tobacco store into the former South Pacific site, or a vaping store or anything else, I'd say no, I want local zoning. I'd rather have a more positive community use, a bowling alley, a restaurant. I believe that local zoning is about priorities for our community and what's the best and highest use for our community. So I don't want my daughter, who will be going to Zervis, to be walking past a marijuana store on her way to and from elementary school. I'd much rather she walk past a video, a video rental place. No, they don't have those anymore. So
Ken, let me ask you this. The point you were just making, that your daughter, when she's walking to elementary school, which is in a few years,
yes,
you don't want her to walk past a recreational marijuana store. Would you be okay with her walking past a liquor store?
There's no choice about that. It's too late. The ship has sailed, Matt.
Just yes or no. Just a yes or no. I know there's no choice, but yes or no.
If we could go back to the beginning of time.
No,
Matt, no. I think
the hypotheticals are.
There is a liquor store. Yes, she will. There's no choice about that.
Okay. Are you okay with that? I mean,
if I had my druthers.
Do you think it's dangerous?
Of course it's dangerous. You know how many people die a year, young people die a year, Matt, from alcohol-related accidents? Yeah. I think it's very dangerous, and I think our society would be much better off if alcohol weren't so prevalent. But we have a chance to stop that from happening with another dangerous substance.
Okay. How about tobacco?
Tobacco, I wrote the Smoke-Free Newton Ordinance. I banning the sale of tobacco, the vending machines to minors. To me, big marijuana is coming just the way big tobacco is here. And it's, people compare it to alcohol. Alcohol is not illegal federally. This is a federally controlled substance.
Okay, well,
it's a cash business.
If you want to talk about that and why it's illegal federally, there's, I think, no responsible way to do that without talking about the history of why marijuana is illegal federally. It is illegal federally for racist reasons, because black people and brown people enjoyed and smoked marijuana, going back hundreds of years.
And Native Americans smoked tobacco, you
Yeah,
know.
I
And
understand
so,
that.
And that's great. And it doesn't.
No,
but if you're
hear me out,
anti-tobacco,
please.
doesn't mean you are anti-Native American peoples.
I understand, but the federal origin of marijuana being a Schedule I substance and illegal federally is rooted in racist assumptions.
Matt, I'm not saying it should be.
And systemic racism.
I'm not saying it should
Please
be.
hear me out, because this is important. You raised an interesting point. It's rooted in systemic racism against the things that black people, African Americans, and brown people, primarily Hispanic folks, did and used.
Matt, let me be clear.
and
I
it
don't
was-
think it should be a federally controlled substance. In this, I don't think, and I think
But you
consenting
can.
adults
You just made
should
it
be
part of your argument for why this is a more dangerous thing, and
no,
why
not for why it's more dangerous.
and why you
Matt.
can't analogize to.
Because it's a cash
alcohol.
business. You didn't let me finish.
But it's only a cash business because it's federally illegal. It doesn't have to remain federally
No, that's true.
illegal. And then it doesn't have to be a cash business.
So that's a separate discussion.
I
then.
get that.
Well,
but my point is that
right now it is more dangerous because it's a cash business and there's more crime associated with cash businesses.
But there's ways to work around that.
Such as what Amherst, Massachusetts proposed, which is hiring 4 more police officers and 2 more drug education people at a cost of $550,000 a year to their community. There are significant costs. So one of the arguments for
hang on,
this is it generates revenue, but it doesn't generate more revenue than a hotel, than other retail businesses, in fact.
Well,
So
we don't know that. It might on a per square
no,
footage basis.
No, it doesn't.
It's not like let's be clear. It's not like hiring more police officers and spending money on drug education is a bad thing. That's a good thing. Let me ask you this. Where have there been marijuana dispensaries in Newton in the past?
There's one in Newtonville, but it's a recreational dispensary. It's not a recreation.
It's a medical marijuana.
medical
Let
marijuana.
me clarify. Where have there been illegal marijuana dispensaries in Newton in the past?
People's houses.
The KFC in Newtonville. When I went to high school here at Newton North, I was class 94.
Again, Matt, I agree with you. It shouldn't be illegal.
My point is that marijuana has always been available here in Newton. It still is available. Recreational marijuana is available here.
And it should be available to adults.
Absolutely.
And it should not be available to minors. Can we agree on that point?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be advertised to minors.
Right.
And
the KFC should not have been selling it to my high school classmates.
And Matt, and we talked about this
and
off
kids
air
were able
earlier.
to get it just as they were able then to get beer and hard liquor, and just as they're able to now.
Matt, on previous shows, we've talked about zoning and banks in Newton Center, for example, was one topic.
Yeah.
And why? And we asked, why are there so many banks in Newton Center? And the reason is it's marketing. People see the banks. It's not that they're doing lots of transactions at those banks. They get the brand in front of the demographic they want to get it in front of. The number one way to advertise a product like that, which you can't legally advertise a lot of other ways because it still is a federally controlled substance.
Sorry, are you talking about banking
Yeah,
or about marijuana?
I could make a joke.
It's marijuana. Let's keep going. Sorry.
I could make a joke, but it wouldn't be funny. It would just be too sad and too true. But
right.
about how we should regulate banks. But anyway, Richard Cordray won the nomination for governor of the Democratic nomination for governor of Ohio.
Good for him.
So
happy to see him.
anyway,
in the general.
Okay.
Yes.
So my point, Matt, is simply that I think if we're going to have recreational dispensaries in Newton, they shouldn't have signs outside. They shouldn't be advertising to children because that's what a sign is. It's an ad for the products. Adults are perfectly capable of going online, Googling where the dispensary is, and going there. They can be in nondescript office locations. They shouldn't have big.
Okay. Well,
and I can tell you, like, go to Colorado sometime. You'll see these big signs, and they are attractive to children. I think we should go. We'll let you rebut what I've just said, but then I want to go to the.
Let's jump on that, because I think there's more to why banks are clustered in village centers than just marketing. I think it has to do with the finances and the fact that banks make a lot of money and they can afford to pay high rents, which is what landlords love. I mean,
That's also part of the equation, no doubt.
so let's assume that a recreational marijuana dispensary is able to pay high rents and afford to be in a village center. You don't want it in a village center because you don't want the business here in Newton, and if it is, you don't want it to have a sign advertising its presence and its line of business, right? That's what I'm hearing?
I'm saying that if
I mean,
we have to, okay.
I can agree with not advertising to children, period. Like no Joe the Camel, but in marijuana. For our younger viewers, that was a...
Joe Camel at one point was more recognized by 3-year-olds than Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
That's how prevalent the
I understand
advertising
it was horrifying then. I thought it was revolting when I was a kid. Joe the Camel.
And let me give you another example.
Well, just
the
hang on.
tobacco industry, advertising. There, you may be too young to remember this, but when I was a kid, there were candy cigarettes.
I was thinking of those.
And they had the little ashes that were like that would make it look like the cigarette was lit up. They were like little bits of cinnamon or something.
Yeah.
They were little red bits or mint or something.
And
the kids were
for our younger viewers, these were candy sticks that were sized and shaped like cigarettes.
They looked just like cigarettes.
They came in a box packaged like cigarettes with little flip top.
And they came with this little stuff you'd put in your ashtray and dip them into, essentially.
And they were sort of coated with powdered sugar, and they were a porous candy stick, so that when you would blow on them, they would puff out smoke.
I'd forgotten that. You're right,
Yeah.
Matt.
Oh,
so
I
you're not
remember
as
this.
young as I thought.
Thanks, Ken.
You look young now.
I'm flattered.
You should take it. Is
Thank
a
you.
compliment.
Point is, I do not want to see marijuana businesses of any sort advertised to children. I can't imagine anyone does. That
Okay.
is
So the
unacceptable.
question, it's a definitional question, Matt.
Yeah.
Whether retail signage is a form of advertising. To me, it's indisputable
Well,
that it
it's
is.
a form of advertising, but I don't want to say that these businesses cannot advertise in any form, including should not be allowed to have a sign outside their business.
We disagree on that point.
But I think that you could have a sign and restrictions, reasonable restrictions on commercial speech, on signage out front. You can have the name of the business, plain lettering, but you can't have, say, a picture of a marijuana leaf, you can't have a picture of a bong, can't have a picture of a joint, things like that. I mean, Garden Remedies, the medical dispensary that's in Newtonville, most people who I've spoken with...
Well, just to be clear, right now there is no proposed restriction along the lines of...
I get it, but you proposed it.
Yeah.
I think we should address it.
Okay. All right. Maybe we have some common ground at least on that sub-point.
but
But
I
there's
think
another children-related point. We were going to, Matt, spend a half hour on this marijuana topic.
But this is
We've gotten
great.
through
We
one of our 4 subtopics. We've
right.
got 3 more marijuana subtopics.
Okay, we'll move on.
Let's
summarize. Common ground here. I don't want advertising to children. You don't either.
Okay, good.
I'm okay.
We both are fine with medical marijuana being
Yes.
sold in Newton. We're both fine with it not being illegal to possess or use marijuana. Of course, with limit.
Indoors, in private spaces.
In private, okay.
Where
so
it's allowed.
Okay, let's next question.
Okay.
Alcohol use is permitted in public places, although not outdoors. Tobacco use.
Public places like private businesses.
Yeah, public. Yeah,
Bar-
right. Well,
restaurants,
alcohol,
taverns.
Right, exactly.
Right, but not in a park.
But not in a park.
Yeah.
Tobacco is allowed even in a park and on a public street.
Yes, although there are restrictions on, which
Some
are
parks,
generally, let's say, blown off.
Well,
about
like
how close,
where did the tea station?
how close you can be
okay.
to a door
So
to
my
a business.
question, Matt, and this could be a quick topic. We may have common ground
Yeah.
already. Should marijuana should be analogous to alcohol, where it's allowed indoors in private business, public accommodations, businesses open to the public. B, like tobacco, anywhere outside that isn't right near a door or in a particularly restricted area. Or C, like the way it is now, not anywhere but your own privacy of your own home.
Yeah.
If we agree on this, we don't need to run through it too much.
Yeah, I think we mostly agree. I don't want to see marijuana regulated in a way like tobacco, where it's allowed to be used outdoors in public spaces. I'm concerned about the message it sends and the proximity to children. I'm mildly concerned about the health effects, although it pales in comparison to tobacco, which we do allow everybody to smoke outside.
And that's bad, and we shouldn't, but we are where we are today.
Right.
This is what I'm talking about.
But I don't
you
want...
can't wind back. We're at the decision point in marijuana.
Well, you can, because remember when you and I were kids, everybody was allowed to smoke on airplanes and buses
Right.
and
But you talked about
trains
alcohol.
and in
yeah, I know, and
in
again,
workplaces,
when I
and
was first on the board of aldermen, Matt,
my
it was
point is
allowed
kind
in City Hall.
I understand. I recall that. But
But
we
alcohol,
rolled
we
that
tried
back.
prohibition.
We rolled that back
it's
with
very
tobacco.
hard.
And it's possible if we try something with marijuana and it doesn't work and people don't like it, it's possible to roll it back. We
yes,
did it
but
with
it
tobacco.
also becomes ingrained like alcohol.
We rolled it back with tobacco, which has been so ingrained for hundreds of years.
It's still legal, and if tobacco, we were
You
at day
can't
one.
smoke tobacco in bars or restaurants or workplaces or airplanes.
You can do it in a public
or
park,
buses.
though.
I'm saying we rolled back the most harmful public uses of tobacco, and we could do it with marijuana. That said, I think the common ground we have here is
Okay.
I don't want to see marijuana legalized, regulated for use in public parks.
Okay.
Period.
How do you feel about bars and restaurants?
I think there should be places, like I forget what the phrase people are using for it is, a smoke shop where you're allowed to smoke or otherwise consume marijuana.
So we don't have common ground on
in
that.
the way that there are cigar shops where you can
Yeah,
smoke
I don't think we
cigars.
should have any of those in Newton either.
Well, I don't particularly want them myself. I don't want to go and use it, but I think we should allow that.
So Matt,
But
I'm just assessing the common ground that
I'm,
we have.
I'm just saying, I don't want to see marijuana used in, say, restaurants in general or taverns in general.
Okay.
Just like tobacco is not
So you're
allowed
saying not
there.
out in parks and on the public streets,
Right.
not in most restaurants, but in a few restaurants. So we're close to common ground.
If you
on
want
this.
to open a business whose purpose is allowing people to...
I don't think that business should be illegal in Newton. I don't think it should be zoned in Newton, and we don't have to under the law.
Yeah, I agree that we don't have to. I'm not averse to it. I'm not hugely in favor of it,
Okay.
but I'm not averse to it.
We're
in
so
Newton.
close to common ground on this one.
Well, we
Matt.
have a fair amount, and I don't want to see it in public parks, and you don't
Okay,
either.
okay.
I don't want to see
All
it
right.
in most businesses, and you don't either.
Let's see. Here's one that we might not have common ground on. Let's try the next subtopic
Okay.
on marijuana. Going back to those candy cigarettes. The nice thing about those candy cigarettes, I mean, they were terrible in that they made kids think, oh, smoking is cool.
Yeah, it was obviously advanced marketing for future smokers.
Oh yeah, it obviously was. But the only good thing about it is those candy cigarettes had no nicotine in them. They had no drug in them. They were sugar and cellulose and whatever else. Now, and this is true, you may not believe this, but stores in Colorado and other places are selling chocolate bars, candy bars with marijuana, with cannabis, with THC in them.
Yeah.
And to me, this has got to be the dumbest thing. If you don't want children using a product, you don't put it in a candy bar. Because I mean, and kids want to have what their parent, what's not allowed to them. So what do you think it says to little Jimmy and Susie? Susie's actually to Jimmy and Jane.
Pick another name, please.
Yeah, Jimmy and Janie. To say, Mommy and Daddy have their special chocolate bars that you guys aren't allowed to have. We keep those on the top shelf. What are Jimmy and Janie going to want? They're going to climb up on a chair and get those chocolate bars. I think it should be absolutely illegal to put this marijuana into candy, and we have every right to regulate it that way in Massachusetts and in Newton individually. Legally, we can under the state ballot question, and I think we should. We should say you cannot put this in things that are going to be enticing to children like candy.
I understand your point. I think it's hard to say what's going to be enticing and what's not. Chocolate bars, I think we can agree, are probably enticing to children. I don't think it's necessarily...
Escargot, maybe not. You could have...
Well, maybe you want to make
soda. Soda's appealing to kids. Kids drink soda.
And I think that's a risky product to make because of the likelihood that kids are going to want to drink it and drink it unwittingly. And there is a somewhat sizable risk that kids could take or overdose on marijuana. Now, what exactly?
Any dose is an overdose to a child. Let's be clear about that. Kids should not be using marijuana in any quantity.
I agree. But does that mean...
Kids, by the way, here's the statistic on it. Kids are far more likely to become addicted to marijuana than adults. 1 in 6 children, minors, who try marijuana, according to the CDC studies, get addicted to it. Its rates are much lower among adults. I don't know the exact rates.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I don't think that we need to say that we're only allowed or only going to allow...
And by the way, tobacco is like 5+ out of 6 for adults and for children, which is...
Yeah. Well, nicotine is one of the most addictive substances, period.
Right.
I don't think we need to go so far as to say that the only cannabis-infused products that we will sell or allow to be sold in Newton are, say, Brussels sprouts and Melba toast.
No, Matt, let me make my proposal seriously.
I take your point, and I think I agree that I think we could do without chocolate bars. And I say this.
And soda? Can we agree on soda not being appropriate?
Frankly, I would be happy to ban soda sales, period. Nobody needs to drink that much sugar. The sugar in soda, any sort of soda pop, is far more harmful than marijuana. It has terrible psychoactive effects. It's way too much sugar. The risks of obesity and cardiac disease are overwhelming.
You don't want to supersize your Pepsi?
I don't know when the last time I had a soda was. I just don't drink it.
I don't drink
I think
it
it's
either,
bad
Matt.
for you. If you look at a display of just how many cups of sugar go into a single can of a typical soda, like Coca-Cola,
Oh, yeah.
I believe it's 12 cups.
Not 12 cups of sugar in one can.
It is an outrageous amount
It's like
of
12
sugar.
spoonfuls, Matt. It's still a lot, but...
I will fact check that.
Well,
I
we
will
can
correct
fact check
myself.
it right now, Matt.
Sure, get out your phone.
Here, all right.
My point is,
How much sugar in 12 ounces of soda? Here, let's do it right now.
my point is, sure, I don't think we need to have marijuana-infused
All right.
soda
Hold on,
sold.
1 sec. Let's do it. Wait,
Well, I don't want dead air while you look it up.
Okay, all right.
So I'm going to keep going on this point. But I think
How much sugar is in 12 ounces of soda?
I think that there are completely reasonable restrictions on what food products are sold.
39 grams of sugar in a 12-ounce can of Coke. 39 grams, so that's about an ounce in weight.
It's an ounce and a half, or an ounce
No,
and a
no,
third.
it's really it's an
28.
ounce and a third. Yeah, that's right.
Ounce
So
and
an
a third.
ounce and a third out of a weight of 12 ounces. So it's about 10% of that can of Coke is sugar by mass.
Yeah, that's about right. It's a tremendous amount of sugar.
It's not whatever 12 cups you said.
Okay.
You couldn't fit it in.
I stand corrected. Well, it dissolves, so it doesn't take up the same volume.
That was a little bit of an exaggeration, but your point is taken, Matt.
Thank you. So I think we can agree.
Oh, look at this. How much sugar in a can of Coke? That's what people ask. Let me touch that. No, you can't really.
So I was wrong. Not 9 1/3,
I see.
not 12 cups. It's about 9 1/3 teaspoons.
Yeah, I was thinking it was 12 teaspoons, but okay.
But
yeah,
that is a lot of sugar.
Oh, it's a lot
in
of sugar.
can.
On the other hand, you know how much in a slice of white bread? It's like 2 teaspoons.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that have. We're eating sugar
Ken,
constantly.
I've heard there's tons of stories on the radio about overconsumption of sugar. Point is, I would be fine with saying we're not going to allow cannabis-infused soda or cannabis-infused
We're getting close to common
chocolate
ground on this
bars,
one too.
or cannabis-infused, I don't know, maybe granola bars. But I don't
Things that anything that a kid might eat at halftime at a soccer game. How about
well, yeah, I mean that's a bit of a squishy
well,
standard.
I think the only way to do this is just to ban the edibles. Seriously,
But
you can't start micromanaging.
I'm not willing to agree with you on that. I'm not willing to go that
I
far.
think what you can do is, if people don't want to smoke it, they can put it in pill form. What do you think about vaping it, by the way?
Well, I think vaping in general is going down a dangerous path with tobacco. The Juul, this product Juul, that has been out for a couple of years, that markets itself with flavors that seem intended to
like
appeal.
chocolate, right?
Well, like mango,
peppermint or something, right?
cucumber.
Right.
I think is a really dangerous.
Kids like cucumbers, but I think I get your point about.
I think it's a really dangerous trend, and I'm not sure that they're aimed at little kids, and I hope they're not being used by little kids, like kids who are 10 or 15.
I think they're starting.
But I think kids, like
I've got to say,
teenagers-
Matt, I have an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
I think that the marketing for all of these products, these are the future consumers. They're already there's people strategizing. How can I start making 10 and 11-year-olds want my product?
Now, here's the thing. On the one hand, with vaping, you eliminate a tremendous amount of the health risks as opposed to smoking tobacco in any other form.
Still very addictive, of course.
Well, it's super addictive, but the nicotine is not what causes cancer.
It's the tar and
it's the tar and the other long hydrocarbons. But
ooh, pulling out the science, Matt.
Thank you.
Hydrocarbons.
Yes, long chain hydrocarbons. But getting people addicted to nicotine, I don't think is a good thing as a matter of public health.
Well, also the
policy.
stimulative effect, and then it causes depression later. As you said, it's the most addictive of the commonly available drugs because it has 2 things it does. Most are just a stimulant or a depressant. it has an immediate stimulation effect, and then a time afterwards, it has a depressant
Well,
effect, causing you to feel like you need
right.
more of the stimulant.
Well, you're right, and it relaxes people. If you're anxious, it relaxes you.
They need a cigarette.
Right.
Well, much like marijuana relaxes people, right? But without the stimulant effect.
Yeah, I don't think marijuana has that stimulant effect. Point is, I think vaping as a public health experiment is better than having the same number of people smoke, because you don't.
What about chewing nicotine gum then, Nicorette or something?
I think that would be better than smoking as well, because you eliminate both the physical damage to your lungs from inhaling hot smoke, and you eliminate the carcinogenic
So just to bring it
compounds.
back to the marijuana, should it be allowable for the vaping juice to contain THC and cannabis extract?
Yeah,
Should that be legal?
I don't have a problem with that from a public health standpoint, because if we're going to allow people to buy and smoke marijuana in cigarette or cigar form or through a water pipe, a bong, then we're allowing them both to ingest the drug, the THC, and to do something that causes some physical harm. I mean, inhaling hot smoke is not good for you. There's
Hot steam, right? Isn't it steam?
well, in traditional smoking, where you're smoking the plant
Oh, right,
product,
okay.
right, hot smoke, just like you'd smoke, get hot smoke from a cigarette or a cigar.
Yeah. Oh, you remember the? You remember at the Science Museum again? I don't know if you're old enough to remember, or whether your childhood was in the Boston area.
Yeah.
At the Boston Museum of Science, they had for a while this clear woman, and you could see her lungs. It was like a model of a woman, and you could see the cigarette like smoke going in, and the lungs blackening, and like all the damage being done.
That's a great exhibit. That's a great visualization, a great demonstration of what it does when you
and killing
smoke
the
something.
cilia, and you could see what healthy cilia looked like.
Right.
And anyway,
Right.
sorry.
So if you, I mean, we are allowing people to smoke marijuana. We're legalizing.
So
it
you're
for
fine with the vaping?
recreational
Okay.
purposes. So if we're going to allow that,
Okay.
then why not allow vaping? My concern with vaping of tobacco or of marijuana is with flavors and marketing that are designed to appeal to kids.
So you
I
would
don't
be
want
fine
that
with
to happen.
vaping as long as it weren't flavored vaping? I mean, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can take the marijuana, get it into your system, but don't flavor it and make it appeal to.
Yeah. I mean, that's the gist of it. And it's not like I'm delighted, but
See, here's my concern, Matt.
But let me just say this, Ken. I think that from a health, public health standpoint and mortality standpoint, smoking marijuana is better for you than smoking tobacco.
Okay.
And smoking marijuana is not better for you than not smoking marijuana. But we allow people to smoke tobacco.
Yeah. Okay.
And allowing them, and allowing people to
Right.
vape tobacco is better than having them smoke it. Same with marijuana. My concern is with marketing and flavors that are designed to appeal
So
to
my
people,
question,
like
my
21 and
question,
under.
Matt, is really simple though. Is this a zero-sum game? In other words, you have a universe of people who are going to be smoking something that's bad for them or vaping something that's bad for them, and it's either going to be cigarettes or it's going to be vaping. To me, I see this the way that's marketed and the way kids are doing what the other kids are doing. I'll give you an example. Fortnite. Have you heard of Fortnite?
Yeah, but you're going to have to remind me.
So Fortnite is this.
Is it a first-person shooter game?
It's more than just a first-person shooter. Most parents, and I know some of my son's friends' parents, are letting their kids play this because they don't know what it is.
Oh, great.
I think. But it's a game in which all the players, I believe it's 100 at a time, are placed on an island, and they're all real players. You aren't playing against the computer software. You're playing against other real people with, of course, animated computer game characters. And the objective of the game is to kill the other 99 people on the island. So they all, even if a group of friends play it, they have to kill each other off, and the winner is the one who kills everyone else. So it's the last survivor on the island, and you start with knives, and you have automatic weaponry and stuff. And parents are like, "Oh, it's just one of these cartoonish little kids games."
Look, I will say this: I've played a lot of first-person shooters. I was never terribly good at them. I would usually be the guy who got iced first. I don't think they necessarily breed violence. I think fears.
How about distrust? If your friends that you're playing with, are sooner or later going to stab you in the back, and that's part of the objective of the game. So you want to kill them first. How about that for what you're teaching our children?
I think it's a game. I think kids know that it's a game.
Okay.
If it's particularly realistic or particularly bloody or gory,
to me, it's not
then-
about
then that could
it's
be
about the
concerning.
social interaction of it. The idea that you have your
but there
team.
have been first-person shooters for years. I mean,
Yeah,
decades.
well, okay.
We played them in college.
Yes, college. That's the operative word. This is very popular among 10 and 11-year-olds now. And to me, I'm sorry.
I think that's a little young to be playing a violent video game of any
Okay,
stripe.
okay. I think we agree. My point, though, is that this game has been of the reason why kids want to play it is their friends are playing it,
Okay,
and it's
so
considered cool.
you're trying to draw a line
I'm saying
between
it's
peer
analogous.
pressure,
Yeah.
pressure in video games and peer pressure in smoking
Well, and
or vaping.
What I'm saying is
Yeah,
there
I get
is
it.
an expanding universe of kids who are playing this, not because there are other kids and because it's available.
right.
And I think if you make vaping or marijuana more readily available, let's put it this way. Yes, there are places that were selling marijuana in Newton for recreational use illegally for many years.
Right.
I never knew where they were as a kid. If you had big signs, I would have been like, oh, wow, people are doing that, adults are doing that. Alcohol was legal, so I asked my parents, can I try that? And my parents, in moderation, let me, because I figured if they didn't let me, someone else, I would be curious and try it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think if you send the message that this is socially okay and it's something grown-ups do, then prepubescent kids and pubescent kids are going to want to do it too. I don't want to say that. I don't want to send that message. That's my bottom line.
I get what you're saying, but as you were saying earlier, with regard to alcohol use and tobacco use, that ship has sailed.
Yes, but it hasn't sailed yet for marijuana. That's my point. We are the captains of that ship, Matt. And we are at the point in our history.
And that's where you're mistaken, because kids know that marijuana is available. They know where to obtain it for recreational use. I mean, what else are they going to do with it, right? They're not treating
recreation. I love the euphemisms, by the way. This is like, my favorite one is how the gambling industry, they call it gaming. Gaming is like chess.
I take your point, counselor. I'll drop the adjective. Kids know where to find marijuana.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
Some
they do.
Some do. Not all kids. I didn't.
Well,
I know lots of kids who I don't think they have any idea where to find marijuana, and it will be clear where to find it if there are
But here's the thing.
recreational stores. They know
think-
where to find alcohol. They know where the liquor store
But
is.
Ken, I don't think having recreational stores legal for and regulated for sales to people 21 and up, right? I don't think that's going to significantly change the availability of marijuana for people under age 21.
Okay, and that's where we disagree. But I'm going to ask you another question then.
Look,
I'm going to ask you another question, Matt.
Alcohol is available to people under age 21 illegally. Now,
Matt,
do you agree or disagree?
To some.
To people who want to get it.
To some of the people who want to get it. Let me ask you a question, Matt. I'm a big believer, and I think you are too, in local zoning and local control over what we have in our village centers, over what our priorities are. We don't necessarily want, a huge development in Newtonville Square, for example.
Fair. That's true. I don't.
Okay. I wouldn't want a huge development in Newton Highlands or Newton Center. I think that there's a quality of life in Newton associated with, and you can call it NIMBY or old and stodgy or whatever you want. But I think there's a reason.
You're not that old.
Okay, there are
stodgy, perhaps, but not that old.
There are things about Newton. I absolutely love this city, Matt. I love the parks. I love our villages, and I don't mind tweaking things at the edges and making some modest changes. But I don't want radical change to Newton because I think it's pretty darn good the way it is. And so when people talk about 1,000-person new housing developments, it's not that I'm against housing, but I'm worried about the traffic on our streets and whether our infrastructure and our schools can absorb that and maintain what makes Newton special. So I'm perfectly happy to say I would use zoning as a tool to prevent things from going into my neighborhood that I don't like.
Right.
For example, and here's my question for you, Matt. They're talking about the former South Pacific site, and as I said, I would love to see a restaurant or a bowling alley or some other thing that would be nice community value to go in there. An indoor mini golf place. I don't know. It's a big building, right?
Sure.
With a glow-in-the-dark mini golf could go in there. There's a lot of things I'd be delighted to see there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want a tobacco shop there, like the one we used to have in Newton Center? How would you feel, assuming it was legal to regulate it, if you had the choice of what would go there? Would you put a tobacco shop there, Matt?
In the South Pacific
Yeah,
location?
yeah.
What are my choices? Tobacco shop?
Or you're right in the zoning code. You can set the zone for that. Would you?
I'd rather not have a tobacco shop because I think it's a really dangerous, harmful product. You know, tobacco is the third leading cause of death per year in the U.S.
Don't I know it, Matt?
For-
And also because you told me that right before the show.
I did.
I would have guessed second leading, but
Right. 480,000 deaths a year are attributed to
and then
tobacco
does that
use.
count cancer deaths?
I don't think it does.
Does it
because-
count heart disease deaths?
No, it doesn't, because those
Are the number one
are
and
the
two.
second and
And
first
so
leading cause of death per year.
I think that actually tobacco
But-
may be the second if you count the heart disease and cancer.
It could be. Here's the thing. How many deaths per year are attributed to marijuana use?
Well, right now it's not as prevalent as it will be once we let it be used
That's
everywhere.
true, but people use it illegally.
Very few people
It's
use
not.
it.
No, it's not very few. People voted overwhelmingly to have
Yeah,
it
I
legalized.
voted for it because I don't want. Because I'll tell you why I voted for it. Okay,
Yeah.
when I was working at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the healthcare fraud unit. Okay, I was sitting in a courtroom in the federal courthouse in Boston, and I was watching a hearing going on. And at this hearing, there was a young man, a very young man. Still, I think a teenager, or at least a teenager at the time of this crime, who was being given a mandatory minimum sentence, and without getting into all the details of it, was basically going to have his life ruined by being a poor kid in the inner city who was involved in a drug deal. And the reason why there was no sentencing discretion was because it was determined, and this was an appeal actually, it was determined that the crime involved a gun. Why did the crime involve a gun? The kid didn't have a gun. There was a gun in a box, and the box was the payment for the drugs, okay? So so because it was a crime involving a gun, and that's what the prosecutors pressed, and then the judge said, well, it's a crime, it does involve a gun, that the kid got I don't remember exactly, a massive sentence. This is the end of his life. He's going to grow up in a prison cell.
Yeah.
To me, I don't want kids going to jail for drug crimes. Now, let me make one exception to this. Anybody who sells drugs to a kid, or tobacco for that matter, but I think there ought to be strong penalties for that. That's why. So you're saying people overwhelmingly voted for it. I've never touched marijuana in my life. I voted for decrease. So I think, and I know, I think the vast majority of people who voted for it without ever using marijuana or ever wanting to use marijuana.
That's fine. So let's assume.
Or ever wanting it to be sold in our community.
Then it's a strange vote.
No, it's not, because I think it shouldn't be. I don't want people going to jail for a long time. There's a middle ground, Matt. It doesn't have to be at the one extreme. It's legal for everywhere. It can be sold everywhere. We're going to have no local control over it. And the other extreme.
I don't know who you think is advocating that, but
well,
I'm
no,
not.
eight of these are new. Let me give you some. I promised math. Here's some math. Okay, 8 recreational marijuana locations. If we don't vote for this, will be allowed in Newton. That's in 18.6 square miles. Okay.
Yeah.
And just to give you an idea of what the density of recreational marijuana shops in Newton, that's roughly, it's a little less than 1 for every 2 square miles, okay?
Yeah.
9 out of 18 would be, but
Yeah.
it's a little less.
I got the math.
Okay.
Thanks.
Now, Massachusetts happens to be, do you know how many square miles Massachusetts is?
Not offhand.
Okay, 10,565. I didn't know offhand either. I had to look it up. So roughly half, a little less than half. We would be talking about 5,000 marijuana shops, 4,000 something
Okay,
marijuana
Ken,
shops in
let
Massachusetts.
me ask you this.
Let me make the point. Okay,
Make
I've
it
gotten to the
fast,
point
because we're
yet.
running out of time.
We've got 6 minutes left, Matt.
Okay.
You'll have plenty of time to rebut my math.
All right, all right.
All right. And we can talk about self-driving cars or not if we want.
Not
okay.
getting there.
Okay. We have, and I understand there's greater areas of population density and lesser areas of population density, so you won't really have them that densely across the state because you don't have that many liquor licenses. I understand but the idea that we would need anywhere near that many, because if you think about it, this is not a business that it should be an impulse buy. It should be a destination. And that's why I think it's really analogous, and you were laughing at this earlier, to adult products, adult bookstores, because that's a destination. You can get in your car and you can go to one by an exit on the highway, or you can have it shipped to your home. There's nothing about this law that says an adult in Massachusetts can't have marijuana shipped to their home.
Yeah.
In Newton.
Not about this law, but,
No.
but you can't do it at all.
Oh, you can.
It's a federally controlled substance.
No, no,
You
no.
can't
From anywhere. No. Under Massachusetts law, from anywhere in Massachusetts, you can have someone ship any marijuana recreational dispensary is allowed to ship to anywhere else in Massachusetts. So
Really?
yes. So Newton residents can have a plain brown package sent to their home. I'm not against adults getting that plain brown package and having marijuana, or they're driving to the place on the highway.
Let me interrupt you.
What I'm
That's
against
news
is the
to me.
advertising to kids, which is the signage, and having my daughter walk past it on the way to and from elementary school.
I really think,
and
Ken,
here's
I'm
but
going to
Matt,
interrupt you because you've been talking nonstop for 5 minutes.
I've got a question for you. I've got a question
Let me
for
just say, I really think that your concern about retail signage being characterized as advertising to children, that is overblown.
Okay, we disagree on that.
Well,
let me
wait
ask
a
you
minute.
something that maybe you
the
agree
adult
on that.
shops, the adult, and which of course is a euphemism, the strip clubs and sex toy shops and
And
porn.
by the way, I'm not opposed to sex toys.
Okay.
I just don't want a sex toy shop that my daughter walks past on the way to school. I don't want a sign saying, adult toys. I don't want that in Newton.
But you
I
know
don't
that
mind
those
it.
businesses exist.
I'm happy
and
to have them exist.
They're allowed to
there
have
are appropriate
signage.
places. Like, look, you go to Colorado, and you can see where the marijuana dispensaries are. They're in the seedy neighborhoods.
Ken,
They're
hang
in
on
the
one sec.
industrial parks.
This is
you
the
don't
second
want
time-
those in your residential neighborhoods.
Please let me speak.
Yes.
This is the second time you brought up Colorado. Last summer, we were in Oregon visiting friends.
Yes.
We were in Portland for a day. And one of our friends wanted to go into a marijuana shop and buy something.
Yes.
I walked in with her. It was a store. To me, it wasn't the sort of store that I would want to be shopping in, just the look and feel of it. But it was not in a seedy area. It was not a sketchy store. It did not feel unsafe. It did not have garish signage out front that was attractive to children or really
We're not going to
anyone.
agree on this point. You've made
My
people
point
can
is,
look for them. I would
you
suggest
seem
to our viewers
Please,
that they
Ken,
decide,
let me speak.
Matt,
You seem to think
there's a
that,
whole other question I want to ask you.
that retail stores must be of necessity attractive to children.
Okay.
And I just think
Okay.
you're off base there.
Okay, fine.
There's-
Okay.
We disagree on that point.
We disagree on that point. Matt, you have said that you think that because Newton residents voted for this question, they want to have retailers in Newton sell because they voted for the statewide bill, as I did. They think having retail shops sell marijuana in Newton is fine. Recreational, as they call it. If you feel that way, then why are you afraid to have it on the ballot? Because I will predict that if it goes on the ballot, Newton residents will overwhelmingly, at least 60-40, vote not to have these retail shops in Newton.
Well, I would say I'm not afraid to have it on the ballot. I just don't think we need to. I think it's a waste of everybody's time.
Well, it's not a waste if you believe in local democracy, like you did on the No campaign last year. You said let the people decide, sign it, and I know you said this. You should sign to put this on the ballot, whether you agree with it or not, so that the local people can decide. Why do you feel differently now, Matt?
I do support local democracy.
You always have in the past, but not tonight. What's different? What makes this night different from all other nights, Matt?
What makes this different is that I think this is the worst sort of hypocrisy. I think this is a NIMBY-style attempt to throttle something that the people of this town voted to legalize, that the people of this Commonwealth voted to legalize.
Matt, I remember what you said about the use of the word NIMBY before, too. People use the word NIMBY when they have a weak argument. That's word for word what you said. They call other people NIMBYs when they don't respect what people want locally in their neighborhood. When you were called a NIMBY about your position in Newtonville. So please don't whip out the word NIMBY now.
I will say, when I was called a NIMBY about my position in Newtonville, it was preceded by some, let's say, adult adjectives.
Yes, but more than once you've been called a NIMBY, Matt. And
That's
I've
true.
always stood up for you, and I've always stood up for anybody called a NIMBY, because it's people who love and care about their community that want to make sure there are things. And we can disagree about what should be in the community.
But I don't think this is just about people who love and care for their community. I think this is motivated by fear and by racism, because that is what has animated opposition to marijuana in this country for over 100
So
years.
you're saying that people who don't want dispensaries in Newton are racist?
No, but I think that they've bought into and believed the propaganda about marijuana
Okay,
and
well,
its use and uses.
Well, we don't have common ground.
But I will say, if people want it on the ballot, fine. If I see someone, I'll sign to put it on the ballot.
Okay.
And then I will work to defeat it, because I think it's a bad idea.
All right. Well, we have common ground on at least putting it on the ballot. I'm Ken Parker. I've been joined by Matt Yospin.
Thanks, Ken. Always
This
a
was
pleasure.
the most animated discussion we've had in a long time. Thank you so much to our wonderful director, Eric O'Gara, and Will, and Arthur, and Rich, and everyone at New TV for making this possible. And please join us again, second Thursday every month. We do a live show, even in the summer. Please just join us again next time when we try to find just a wee bit more, maybe in this case a lot more, common ground.